Hi, and welcome to the Spark the Heartz podcast. My name is Lizzie, and I'm an intuitive energy channel and a Reiki practitioner. This podcast is a safe space where we talk about spirituality, energetics, cycles, rebirth, and so much more. So while I'm in your field of awareness today, I hope you tune into the frequency of this episode with an open heart and a new sense of curiosity. As a reminder, you're a sovereign being, so take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome again. This morning, I woke up with the need to just record this thought that came through. I woke up and, of course, I was on my phone reading some webtoons, but I scrolled through Instagram and I heard somebody talk about growth and how the spiritual journey can be like. And I thought, oh, how interesting, just accepting the cycles of how things can come in, and it's not always, oh, you can do this now, you have your abilities, you went through this. It's not like it stops. It is a continual cycle of growth, of death and rebirth. And I thought, oh, how pretty. And so then I get out of bed and I say my mantra of I call my energy back to me. And I also invite in angelic support. And I also invite in the Council of 11, who are my team, my guides in spirit, who really help me understand these cycles, this information just coming in. And I take my doggos outside to just hang out, handle their business. And as I'm outside, it's kind of like chispeando, which is like light rain. And so I'm looking at my rose bush and I see like droplets of water and everything. And I just thought, oh my God, this is so pretty. And then I'm like, all of a sudden I'm hit with this download of like, this is how growth is. And I'm looking at one specific bud that's like still needing to bloom that has like dew on it. And while I'm taking the picture, like at first all I wanted to focus on was the bud that was still closed and had dew on it. And I noticed at the bottom of my videos and photos, I saw like this flower that was already dead that had parts that were like brown and black and just like the water driplets were on there too. And so I just thought, oh, I don't want that in my picture. And they're just like, no, this is a part of how growth looks like. And then I kind of stepped back a little bit and was looking at different parts of my rose bush. Trust me, this is a really good message. I'm just setting the scene for you guys right now. So please bear with me. And just for clarification purposes, when I say them, they, or their, I'm actually referring to the Council of 11, who are my guides in spirit. And because I said my morning mantra and invited them in right as I stepped on the floorboards of my room, and I walked outside with my doggos, they gifted me with that knowledge. So know how much you can gain off of inviting in support, whether it's from God, the angelic realm, your team, your guides of the highest kind into your days. How the magic unfolds is just having an awareness of what you're normally like. And when something gets gifted to you, like a download, it's very different. You start to realize this isn't what my intention was. My intention was to take a picture of the bud and share it on Instagram and just say a good morning thing. Instead, I was gifted with the knowledge of how growth and cycles of death and rebirth, as well as blooming, can coexist at the same time in nature and within our physical reality, because we are a part of nature as well. We've just been taught to think that we're separate. But let's carry on. So I'm like looking at the other buds that are like not fully bloomed yet, but they've opened up. They still don't have the leaves around them. So I'm just like, okay, so there's those. And then there's obviously ones that had already bloomed that are in the process of dying. And I'm just looking at also the new parts of my rose bush coming in that are like this reddish color. And they're like, this is what you guys are like. This is what you are like. This is what growth is like. This is what it's like. You can be just like a rose bush and have parts of you and be in a season where parts of you are just blooming, barely getting started, but there's old parts of you that are dying. And there's parts of you that are in the transition of being let go. And that's just a part of growth. And sometimes we can be these complicated plants that can be in the process of growing in one aspect, but also dying in another. And sometimes it's about when we're ready to prune those parts off and when we're not. As for me, I haven't pruned my rose bush yet. We're in the middle of February, but we've been having a lot of rain and there's been really like frozen nights. So the environment also makes a difference of when you let things go. So if you're in a season of growth, but you feel like so much death is around you, like parts of you are dying, but you're like striving to grow, know that that's okay. And opposite, say you aren't growing, but you feel like parts of you are dying. Just know that sometimes things need to get pruned out so that you have the ability to grow. Because just like a rose bush, when the time comes, I'm going to be out in my backyard and cutting them down so that they can regrow in a beautiful new way. Every year around this time is usually when I cut them down, but because this year specifically, it's been cold as heck, stuff freezes over, you do not want to cut your rose bush and cause it to have frostbite or damage from it. And plus with the rain, if you don't cut the rose bush at an angle a certain way, like the water gets in there and sits and creates mold. So it's like you have to create the perfect environment to be able to allow your rose bush, or in this case, my rose bush, to grow the right way. And I thought, oh, it's too soon. And I've been feeling it for a while. And so I was just like, oh, I'm reminded of this is how growth feels like. You can be in a process of death and rebirth in certain areas of your life and be growing in others. And it feels so chaotic because everything can coexist at the same time. And what a perfect way to see this today. And I believe when I decided to record this, it's Valentine's Day, but I don't know when I'll release this podcast. I just thought it was such a beautiful day to go outside and see that and be reminded through different aspects right when I woke up, you know? And so my intention with sharing this episode is just to remind you that you can be in multiple different parts of a season while you are growing, while there is death and rebirth, while you are still blooming. It all looks different on everybody. And nobody's going to be the same because there's nobody else in the world that is just like you. You are individually yourself. You are at your own pace. This is your own life journey. Move at your pace. Move accordingly and do what feels right for you. I know that there's so much talk outside of us of it should look this way, it should be that way. But me on a personal level, the times I've been told that, oh, you have to do this. For example, oh, you got to make sure when I was in high school, you got to make sure you pass your SATs if you want to get into college, and you have to make sure that you're studying. And I was just so overwhelmed by everybody like filling out FAFSA and all of this. I went to school in California. So in case these terms don't mean anything to you guys, FAFSA is like something that is gifted or rewarded by the state of California. If you fill it out, it's like government funding to go to college. So anyways, everybody was like filling out their FAFSA. Everybody was doing their SATs. And I felt like everybody was on the same page of doing something. But for me, it didn't feel right. I did not fill out my FAFSA. I did not apply to colleges. I was kind of like, in my head at that time, I thought I was going to go and leave and travel and then eventually come back and figure out what I want to do. That didn't happen. The traveling happened afterwards, but I honored the way that I felt because I felt like everybody was so pressured into doing something, and I felt like this wasn't something I wanted to do. So that's happened to me in different times in my life, but that specific moment, I just remember feeling it so much outside of me that my insides clearly were screaming, no, this isn't for you. You have other plans. And even if I did not want to state them out loud to people outside of me, I kept it within and I honored my feelings and I moved with that. Eventually, I did attend college, but that was like in my 20s for like 1 or 2 semesters just to do something for fun. But in the meantime, I went at the beat of my own drum and I decided I'm going to work. I'll figure out what I want to do. I didn't feel like college was for me, and whoever goes to college, that's okay. And if you don't, that's okay too. It's just, I never personally felt like that was something I wanted to do for me. And so now I'm in this space where I'm in my 30s and I get to do the things that I love because I chose to follow how I felt. And for the longest time, especially like when you're conditioned in school to believe that the right things to do in life and to be successful is to, and this is not to bash on anybody, this is just my personal experience. Maybe everybody else's personal experience is a little bit different. You went to college, you loved it, you got to experience so much. I see family members and friends that did do that and are in very incredible fields of research, of service, of business, commerce on different levels. But for me personally, it was not something that called to me. And so I went down the journey of, just working at restaurants, working at a packing house one time, working at a cash advance place. I worked at a lot of different places and met a lot of different people. And it was kind of nice because it came full circle to where I'm at now, where I've met these people in different walks of life and got to experience them. Because I've seen people in really high places come to the most common places ever because you're just a person. So for me, that kind of taught me it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And that helped me out on my journey a lot. And apart from that, what I wanted to really get to the point of is your growth is a process that is felt internally and externally sometimes. But you have the decision within yourself to decide if this is growth that you feel like you want to follow the current. And what I mean by the current is like the collective current around you, whether it's family, friends, school, mentors outside of you telling you what to do. Or if you feel that inner voice calling within you and you know clearly what is and isn't for you, and you're just like battling against yourself, by all means, go the path that you feel like is right for you. But personally speaking, when I went outside of myself, it was really hard to get clear about what I wanted inside, because I was made to feel like you have to work a certain way. If you want anything in life, you have to work super hard. And I'd see my mom struggle, my brother struggle, my other brother struggle, and just other family members struggle. But there was one family member in particular, my dad, that I would look at and I said, this is what you get to do for work. Like, you get to drive around and watch other people work. You get to go have lunch at 11 or 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, he showed me a different aspect of working smart, not hard. And my dad didn't go to college. He did this stuff on his own. He learned how to do things and he worked a different type of way. Not saying that that's everybody's path, but it showed me that there is a possibility of going the path less traveled and still becoming successful depending on how aligned you are to your inner truth. And that is how much you spend with recognizing what you feel inside, recognizing what does feel right, what doesn't feel right, and how many times have you been going against your inner judgment or your inner guidance, to be exact, because I can tell you how my body feels when somebody outside of me is trying to pressure me to do something. I get the irks, and I mean bad. And then I know, okay, I don't want to do this. My body's telling me no. They're asking for an answer in the moment, but I'm not ready to do that. And they want to know right now, so my answer is going to be no. But if they say, hey, let me know how you feel next week if you're thinking about this, and I've just said, okay, I'll get back to you. That gives me the opportunity to process through my internal world a little bit better and come back to realizing, do I have the energy for this? Do I not? Do I want to partake in this? And that's also a part of inner emotional growth, I believe, and awareness as well, because you're taking the time to process your emotions and you're taking the time to process what environment do you want to put yourself in? Is this somebody I want to be around? So there's so many aspects to this. And I just wanted to make this a short and sweet episode of just understanding what growth, death, rebirth, and blooming can look like in your life. In nature, it's very much reflected back to us, especially during this time, because this is that funky time where winter is almost out, but spring is still here. So there are parts of us that want to bloom and grow, but winter also carried that extra part of when we rested, there were parts of us were letting go, parts of us that are no longer entering this next phase of our life, and allowing ourselves to have the slow moments. Because at least for me, the cold slows me down and it helps me not feel bad at all for resting and just taking the time to do what I want. And it's so nice that the sun goes down at 5, because I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Like, if I say I don't want to be somewhere, people don't take it personally because it's dark already. Versus in the summertime when they're like, come on, let's go out. And I'm just like, no, it's late. And they're like, what do you mean the sun's out? And I'm just like, no, I'm tired. Let me go home. Everybody has a whole different amount of energy levels. Honor your levels of energy. Honor your emotional wave. Honor your inner truth and guidance. And the way you do that is by starting to ask yourself those questions to yourself first. Like if somebody asks you something outside of you, just know that if they're asking you something, you can say yes or no. Or you can also say, give me a moment, I'll get back to you on that. Don't feel the need to respond all the time. We're in a society where everything is so immediate. Everything needs a response now. But sometimes you just need that inner clarity, and sometimes that's time. So give yourself that, if you want to say permission, sure, but give yourself that moment, that space to really tune into what is it that you want for yourself. Well, I'm going to leave this here for now. I hope that this message of growth, blooming, rebirth, and death can help you understand what season you're in now, and understand what parts of you are being let go so that other parts of you can bloom, and the energy that is coming from the earth to nourish your soul, to nourish your physical body, to nourish your mental and emotional body is here to help you. It's just about what the environment is around you and how you're allowing for that inner nourishment to expand throughout you. Take some time. If you want to journal about this, if you want to just ask yourself the question internally, what phase am I in right now? Like, what can I recognize? If I had to think of myself as either a rose bush or a plant, how are my leaves looking? How are my flowers blooming? How does that look like in my internal world right now? And what is the environment externally outside of me right now? Is everybody all around me and I feel like it's so busy and it's like hot and summer and everybody wants a response? Or has nobody been coming around me for a while and it feels like it's winter and everybody's doing their own thing? Or is it fall where, it's a few little conversations here and there and they come in as they please? Or is it spring and everybody's buzzing like a bee and it doesn't feel as hot as summer, but it feels busy, but it's like this fresh busy? So pay attention. That's how I kind of look at the environments outside of me, or seasons with people in the physical realm, and how I kind of integrate what is happening in my internal world, because obviously our environment tends to affect us. And to understand how it's affecting us, we need to take a little bit of time to step back and ask ourselves the question of like, how am I feeling inside? What have I been thinking about these last few days? How have I been waking up? Have I been eating well? Have I been going to the bathroom well? Like, these are really important questions to ask. They kind of let you know where you're at right now in this present moment. So I know I try to say bye already. If you haven't noticed, this just like popped in my head to say to you guys. So I hope it helps you. Until the next episode, bye for now. Thank you for tuning in today. To stay up to date on all my happenings and offerings, I invite you to follow me on my YouTube channel and Instagram, which is at Spark the Heartz with the Z at the end. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, please see the links to my booking page and website on the show notes of this episode. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to our next gathering. Bye for now.